On this episode, the GTO gets boosted. What up YouTube and welcome back. Today we are finally going to install the two turbos on the GTO. We'll get the oil feeds ran, we'll get the oil drains ran, and then we'll take a look at routing the coolant feed lines. But first, let's go ahead and check out the turbos. We'll get those all set up so that once they're bolted together, we can just throw them on the car. Alright, so here we have our turbos. For those of you who watch the car stuff and are into that, these are like the Boosted Boy specials. So everyone who watches them should know that these are capable of putting down some pretty good power. They've already been clocked. I've already put them on the car and tested them because I had to do a lot of fitment. So they're clocked correctly. The only thing I'm going to do is install my T3 flanges, which I'll tell you right now, they're not the greatest looking flanges, but they work. So I'll go ahead and show you those right now. Alright, so these are the flanges. Yes, I know the welds are terrible, but let me show you. I made these when I was practicing the weld. Now, if you could see closer, this is how I can weld now. So, yes, it is a huge improvement from when I started to how it is now. So, yeah, they look ugly. Maybe I'll change them in the future, but for right now, they're gonna work for what I need. I already got the O2 flanges put in there. The only thing I haven't done is drilled a hole for the wastegates, which I'll do that when the time comes. But for right now, we will start with, this is the driver's side, and this is the passenger side. So move the driver or passenger side off to the side, and we will start on the driver's side. And I have the turbos labeled, which one is driver and which one is passenger. So this one, if you can see right there, this will be the driver's side, and then this one will be the passenger side. So we'll go ahead and get these two together, and then we'll mount them on the car. Okay, so flange, turbo, my nuts and bolts, and here I have my gasket. Oil feeds on, oil drains on. Like I said, we'll work on the coolant feed lines more towards the when they're actually installed on the car. So this flange is going to go on there opposite way, so it's going to go on there looking like this. But first, I'm going to put the gasket on. Got a little bit of silicone sealant, just put a little thin layer, adds a little extra bit of a seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit here, put a little bit on here, put the gasket in between, and bolt everything down, and then we'll move it to the car and then install it on there. Alright, now for the silicone, you don't have to do this, but this is just me personally adding that little bit of extra protection so I don't have any kind of leaks. I'm just gonna put a little thin layer, nothing major. So, like I said, it's a little extra, but I'm gonna take it and put it on both of them. Alright, like I said, this is just for me to add that little bit of layer of protection. Alright, so the backs will go in like this. The fronts have to go from the bottom up because of the bend. It's too close. Alright, so we got them hand tight. We'll go ahead and actually bolt these down tight enough. Alright, so we got those two bolts tightened up. Flip this over. And we'll go ahead and finish it off. Alright, so we got the turbo all bolted up. Let's go ahead and get our V-band and get this one installed on the driver's side. Alright, so before we go ahead and get the turbos installed on the car, what we're going to do is cut a hole for the wastegates. This is the pipe I'm going to use. This is just a leftover pipe from when I had my motorcycle. This part right here fits perfectly for what I need. So we're going to cut this part off, cut the hole out, and then we're going to weld this to here, then with these two together onto here. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this for the passenger side, and then we'll move on to the driver's side, mark the hole, and do the same exact thing. Alright, so I got my little pieces cut. Now this one, we're going to go ahead and weld that one together. Got a couple tacks. Now, time to go ahead and weld it around. See, there's a quick little preview of how my welds look now compared to what they looked like before. So, I'm gonna go ahead and finish welding this out. Alright, and that's what my welds look like now. Now, I'm not saying I'm a professional, but compared to my turbo manifold, this is 10,000 times better. So now, time to weld this part onto the exhaust part after it cools down. Alright, so I went ahead and got both of them completely welded out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to weld these onto our turbo exhaust inlet pipes, if you want to call them. They probably won't look as good on that pipe because I kind of cut the holes a little bit bigger. So I'm going to have to do some filling. But for right now, they work. And slightly uneven, but that's alright. The literal one's got to go on the passenger side because there's less room. So now, let's get these welded on. Alright, so I went ahead and welded the port for the wastegate. Again, it's not the greatest, besides it matches this ugly thing anyway. Maybe in the future I'll remake this whole entire pipe, but for right now it'll work. Yeah, I know the top's off. I gotta replace the diaphragm. It's got a little hole, but it's on there. On to the driver's side. Alright, so we'll go ahead and lay the turbo in here for now. And it'll go just like that. Got my V-band, got my flange, got my V-band. Let's go ahead and bolt this down. Lift it up a little bit. And first turbo is tightened down and in. So the way this is going to go, I put the O2 sensor on this side. I got the extension, so if anything, I'll run it down and around. So we got our passenger side, same thing. Got the flange, gasket, turbo, and 4 bolts. This one is going to go looking like that, but it'll also tilt up. So gasket, silicone, and then we'll go ahead and get everything together. Alright, so the 3 of these, the 3 bolts on this side can go straight down. The only one that's going to have to go from the bottom up is this one, because it's really close to there. Okay, so we got all the bolts tightened down. Turbo's ready to get installed. Let's take my School of McFarlane fabbed flange here and get this installed on the vehicle. Okay, so we got the turbo in its spot. Got my V-band. Alright, so now let's go ahead and bolt this down. And we have the passenger side installed. The only thing I might have to do on the passenger side is, so I do have a little problem. I may need to clock that down a little bit more, because it looks like it's going to want to hit this side of the core support. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. Turbo number 2 is installed. And this is what it looks like with both turbos installed. So now, what we're going to do now is move on to getting the oil feeds ran. So let's go ahead and lift the car up and connect all the hoses to get the oil feeds ran. And here we have the oil feed set up. So oil feed is going to come from the oil pan into here. Going to supply one turbo, going to supply the other turbo. I have a one-way valve where I'm making my hose right now, so that this goes into here, into here. I have to make another fitting that goes into here, so that this one will stop the oil from draining back into the oil pan. But first, let me go ahead and finish screwing this down so I can get this connected. That should be good. I don't want to go too tight. But there's one fitting. We'll get this all put together and I'll show you what it looks like once it's all done. Alright, and here is my hose completed. So the 90-degree fitting goes to the bottom of the oil pan. We got the check valve so nothing flows back, connected. And then this part, this one's a barb fitting, held down by a clamp, just gets screwed onto here. Tighten this down. So I have some steel braided lines. It's gonna somewhere sit in the car so it's like this towards the engine bay, so that this side will probably go to the driver, this side will go to the passenger. I have 2 different lengths here. This one's gonna go to the passenger, it gets longer. This one goes to the driver's side. So basically this will screw onto here, tighten it down, and we'll tighten this one down that goes to the passenger side. And we'll tighten this one down. My oil feed lines are made. It looks like a mess, but once it's all ran correctly and hid it and zip tied away, you'll never even notice it. So let's go ahead, we'll lift the car up. We gotta install this on the oil pan, and then we'll get these two ran to the turbos. All right, so I got my fittings. What I'm gonna do is probably, for now, just temporarily until I can figure out how to mount it, is just zip tie everything together so that it's kind of up and out of the way. Then the feed line can run down and pretty much go towards the engine of where it's got to go. That one can go to right there. This one can just go to right there, and then I'll fix that so that it looks nice. But for now, let's go to that side and figure out where to run the hose downwards to. So from underneath the car, there, right there, is the fitting for the feed, and then right up here would be the oil drain. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and get that bolted down so that we have feed, and then we will make a hose to go from there up to the bottom of the turbo. So but first, let's go ahead and get that bolted down and mounted so that that is complete, and then we'll work on the drain. All right, it's a little hard to see, but we got the line on there tightened down. If you look up right there in that area, you can see the little bit of blue, which is the one-way valve. So now what we'll do is get a fitting for there, run the 10AN line up, and then we will cut once we're up at the top. Went ahead and cut up some 10AN line, added my fittings on each side. This side is going to go to the bottom of the turbo, and then this side has a couple 90s because it's a tight squeeze. So this side is going to go into the drain in the oil pan like that, route around. This side will be bent just slightly, and it'll be going right up to the bottom of the turbo. If you can see right there, I got the oil drain installed into the side of the oil pan. So now what we'll do, there's a better view. So now what we'll do is we'll go to the top and connect the bottom of this line to the turbo. Okay, so with the drain installed, I got it sitting right here. So now what we'll do is connect it to the bottom of the turbo, and then while I'm here, I'll connect the oil feed, because I can pretty much move this just about anywhere. Just don't know where I'm gonna put this just yet. All right, so we got the oil feed tightened down. Once this tank is gone, all this will go away. The new tank, which I'll show you, this will be the new tank. Don't mind the welds, but this will be the new tank. It'll sit right here. There is the return that's going to come off of this side, come up, go into here. This piece will go to the bottom hose of the coolant tank, coolant return, the breather, and I think this will be for the steam vents. So that'll just get hose clamped down to like right here or so, and that'll be the whole coolant system for the turbos. So this is tightened down. The only thing we got to do is put the oil drain on, and the driver's side oiling part of the turbo will be complete. I zip tied my little junction over here to my strut bar for now, because I really don't know where I want to put it, and right there just seems to be a good spot for now. I already went ahead, tightened that down. Let's go ahead and get this tightened down, and then we can move on to the passenger side. All right, so I went ahead and I got the oil drain installed. If you can see down there, it's bolted in and tightened down. I got the O2 sensor connected. It's not touching. It's connected right there. Got that ran over there. So now we can finally move on to the passenger side. All right, O2 sensors tightened down. Let's go ahead and put the oil feed on. All right, so O2 sensors installed, oil feeds installed. Now we will lift the car up and get to the oil drain. All right, and there is the passenger side oil drain. So what I'm gonna do is make the hose off camera, and then you guys can watch me install that and run it up towards the top. But right now, like I said, we'll make the hose off camera. All right, so I went ahead and made my second line, which would be the passenger side. This side is another barb fitting, clamp, that screws onto the oil drain. So for the oil pan side of it, I'm gonna do a 45 into a 90. So it would, when it's in the car or on the oil pan, it'll sit just like this. So let's go ahead, we'll get the camera set up and we'll install this on the passenger side. All right, so I went ahead and got the passenger side installed. It's the 90 and then up to the 45. And then it goes straight up past the motor mount directly into the turbo. So now we'll go up top and we'll bolt that side in. All right, so we got the turbos installed. We got the wastegates on. We got the oil feed ran. We got the oil drains ran. So next episode, what we're gonna do is get it ready for the coolant, run all those lines, and get our downpipes. And then we can move on to the intercooling part of it all. So make sure you stick around, stay tuned. Like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you gotta do. And as always, if you didn't like it, it's too late. You already watched it. Peace!